Recording on. Good evening, everyone. My name is David McFadden. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, May 17th, 2023. It is now 7:01. This meeting is called to order. Let's rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Roll call, please.
Mayor McFadden.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Shaw.
Present.
I heard her say present.
Yep.
Trustee Brooke.
Present.
Trustee Casker.
Absent.
And Trustee Shara.
So before we begin the regular meeting, we have the privilege of a Zoom presentation from Chris Starr of New York Class, and he will be presenting what his firm does and how it might benefit our municipality. Just to set the stage, I have already met with him, and so has our budget director, Deputy Mayor Tinka Shaw, and John Ledwith, as well as Elizabeth. They presented last week, and I shared information with the other trustees since that meeting and asked them to read up on it. And they've kicked around some good suggestions. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Chris Starr and invite him to proceed. Hello, Chris.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. Hope everyone's having a good night.
Yes.
Before I get started, just wondering, would it be helpful if I shared my screen as I talk through New York Class? Otherwise, happy to just speak without sharing my screen.
I think we can let you share your screen if you promise you won't do anything wrong.
I can promise that. It's not my first rodeo here. All right, so I'll share my screen here. Just let me know when you can see it.
I think you should be able to now.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to pull up a couple of our meeting materials. Hopefully you can see them at least somewhat on the screen, but I'm first going to speak to our pool fact sheet. So New York Class, we're a local government investment pool. We've been doing this since 1989. And there's 1,100.
Excuse me, Chris, we
Yep.
can see the screen fine, but
Mhm.
our volume is all the way up. If you could just speak a little louder.
Yes, I can. Absolutely. Thank you. Is this
A little
better?
louder.
Turn your volume up.
It doesn't work.
How about now?
Fine.
I'll try to yell. Let me know if you cannot hear me well. So again, this is New York Class. The program's been around since 1989. We're a cooperative investment program. It's actually an investment pool. And there's 1,100 participants across New York State that are in the program. It's strictly only available to New York municipalities and districts. So we have counties, cities, towns, villages, fire districts, fire departments, water districts, and special districts in the program. Total assets in the program now are around $10 billion. The program's grown about double since last year, since we were coming off interest rates near zero during COVID. And now interest has quickly risen, I'm sure many of you know. And the Fed funds rate today is 5% to 5.25%. So I'll talk about the interest with New York Class in just a second. Safety is the number one important factor for New York Class and all of our participants. So all the investments that are in the New York Class investment pool are right in accordance with New York State general municipal law. So these are products, all fixed income securities that the village itself could invest in. We just do all that work for you and help all the participants earn better interest than they would on their own. So this first page does show the products that are in New York Class. It's just a combination of bank deposits and repurchase agreements, which are collateralized 100% or better, or a portion is FDIC insured as well. And then there's just US Treasury securities in the program, which don't require collateral because they're backed by the full faith and credit of the US government, who has not defaulted on a treasury. And we do not expect them ever to, despite the conversations about the debt ceiling lately. More likely than not, they'll take it to the 11th hour and raise the debt ceiling or defer to a later date. They've actually raised the debt ceiling nearly 80 times since 1960. So we're confident they will do just that. There's also a governing board for New York Class. It's a 15-member board that's elected by the participants in the program. And those individuals come from participating entities that currently participate in New York Class. So those individuals are listed out here.
On?
What's that?
Is your audio on?
I'm trying. I can't do it. I'm trying to.
Okay, mine's off. Sorry, Chris.
No problem. Everyone hearing me okay? Any questions
No.
so far?
So far, so good.
Okay, super. So I'm going to move just from this front page. It's really just a generic overview about New York Class. The program to add from a safety perspective is also rated by S&P Global Ratings on a weekly basis and has achieved the AAA rating, which is the highest credit rating possible for a fund like New York Class. It's just like a money market fund really for personal investing, except this is strictly for districts and municipalities in New York State. So moving from there, the next sheet I've brought up is our features and benefits brochure. So there are a number of reasons why municipalities and districts enjoy the program. First and foremost is interest. So the interest with New York Class pays and compounds for all participants on a daily basis, which is much different than the way banks generally pay interest on a monthly basis, certainly not daily and not always compounding as well. In addition to the daily interest, all participants have access to their funds on a daily basis. So there's no locking up of funds, much like a treasury or a CD. Participants all get the benefit of the increased interest rates because it's an automatic rate that adjusts with the market. So when the Fed increases interest rates, New York Class follows quickly behind. Unfortunately, the same will be true when they start to reduce interest rates, but New York Class will hold on to those rates a bit longer than a typical bank deposit because of the treasuries in the portfolio. And one additional detail about the portfolio itself, the average weighted maturity profile of New York Class needs to be 60 days or less to maintain the AAA rating from S&P. So it's in very good shape to reduce interest rate risk, even when there's changes to interest rates from the Fed. So in addition to those key points, so daily liquidity, interest that compounds and pays every day, there's a number of other benefits. So there's no cost to join the New York Class program. There's no transaction fees to move money back and forth between New York Class and your local banks. And there are no minimum balance requirements. So once you open an account potentially with New York Class, you have access to use it and would never see a bill from New York Class. Since the program began in 1989, we've actually never sent a bill to a participant for anything. That said, there is a very small management fee for New York Class. It's around 12.5 basis points today and is based on how many dollars are in the investment pool. It ranges from 15 basis points to 12, but right now at $10 billion in assets, it's around 12.5 basis points. So now the fun part with interest, the current daily interest rate with New York Class as of yesterday for all participants is 4.85%. And that's net of the small management fee with New York Class. So the pool's investments are earning closer to 5%, around 4.98%, and all participants are earning the 4.85%. So I'll just pause there in case there's any questions.
Yeah, David McFadden here. Have you looked at our cash balance and cash flow for payables and so forth, and done an analysis of what we might expect if we were to put the maximum amount of our money into the system in terms of interest?
So I myself haven't looked. I'm not sure if my colleague Joel has looked. He's the one who's actually met with some of the village officials already. Absolutely something we're happy to do. If you want to send that over, we can give you kind of what our recommendation would be and show you what interest it would have earned with New York Class over historical time periods. We can't project exactly what's going to happen on a daily market rate basis, just because we can't predict the Fed and predict exactly where treasuries are going to be. We can give you an idea of where we think rates are heading and what the market's expecting to help you plan. But really, it's going to be based on the market.
Yeah, I actually did meet with him. So did John, Elizabeth, and our budget director, Tinka Shaw, who's on Zoom. And we were looking at numbers anywhere from $10,000 to $17,000 a month of interest.
Incremental?
Yep. So that would all depend on, whatever dollar amount you invest with New York Class. We have no
It was
minimum,
based on
no
just
maximum.
a simple, looking at our available cash.
Understood. So I'm not sure what the dollar number is on the available cash, but I can give you just a quick example. We have a calculator tool. So over the last 30 days with New York Class, $1 million has earned nearly $4,100, $4,065.
John, why don't you interject what you,
No, we took the gross number and it was much larger than what
Right.
he's projecting.
and that's before we did any analysis of what we would need for payables and payroll.
Yes,
In other words, what could, like, as Josh has brought up, what is our total cash balance, but what amount can we actually leave in this fund
Well,
and not be concerned?
it sounds like you can leave the entire amount, because I think what happens is we bring in taxes at the beginning of the year,
Right,
and then you have a steadily declining balance, right?
Right.
As we're paying out over time, but you have a no minimum balance here.
hmm
De minimis management fee of 12.5 basis points is what I heard.
That's right.
And obviously, the rates are going to be what they're going to be, primarily based on what the Fed's doing. That's out of their
Correct.
control. So the question you have to ask yourself is this option better than the other alternatives that are available to me out there? There's obviously CDs. You could go to JP Morgan, get a CD. Your money would be locked up for a period of time. And I don't think it's actually competitive with
Chase has given us some CD rates
no, I
recently.
know, but that's
you know.
JP Morgan. It's the
Okay.
same entity.
Yeah.
But you also have like closed end funds, Chris, that I think you can invest in, like JP Morgan Prime, which I think yield higher rates currently. They're up above 500 basis points, but I don't know if that's on a net basis. And you're obviously, I think, in that situation, taking JP Morgan specific credit risk, which may be better than the US government at this point. Who knows? But I guess my question for you is, is this a state organized entity? It seems like it's non-profit. I'm just trying to understand what the profit motive is, or what the economic motive of the entity is. I'm just trying to
Absolutely.
understand. Yeah.
No, it's a great question. So the investment advisor and administrator for New York Class is Public Trust Advisors.
Okay.
They oversee the program, run the program. It's the portfolio management desk, the client services team, and Public Trust Advisors manages local government investment pools across the country. I think we're in nearly 15 states now, so New York is just a piece of the pie. The 10 billion in New York is accompanied by an additional around 55 billion across the other US states. For example, there's Texas class, Florida class, California class. So all part of the same structure within Public Trust Advisors.
And Public Trust Advisors is owned by who?
Nobody. It's private.
Well, it's owned by someone.
It's owned by someone. Yeah, I don't understand that.
So there's partners that partially own. If you looked on the website, it'll list out who the partners are for Public Trust Advisors. And then there's a portion of equity that's with Cutwater Asset Management that also provides flows for Public Trust Advisors.
So we don't want to be paying to the Taliban.
No, we would not be doing that. Public Trust Advisors privately owns by a few individuals who are partners, and then Cutwater Asset Management as well.
Okay. Is that, okay, that's helpful.
And Public Trust, as referenced, is an SEC registered entity. We're audited independently by a third party, Clifton Larson and Allen, on an annual basis. So the annual report for New York Class, including the audit report, are on the New York Class website.
Chris, David, again, are you beholding in any way to the rules and regulations of the State Comptroller's Office?
Yes, absolutely. Another good question. So generally, when a new participant comes on to New York Class, if they need to make any adjustments to their investment policy language, for example, we send that across directly from the Comptroller Office. So the Comptroller Office authorizes all municipalities and districts the ability to participate in New York Class. And I could send over the reference if you'd like, but the State Comptroller has a document called their Local Government Management Guide for Investing and Protecting Public Funds. And there's references specifically to municipal cooperative investing like New York Class.
Mm-hmm. So to further Josh's point, why wouldn't we go to a private or another company if we could get a higher interest rate?
Is that question for me?
Yes. In other words,
Why use us?
a private entity
I mean, just to give you like a
Yeah.
specific example, like we could invest there, like I said, there are a number of closed-end funds out there that you can invest in, potentially get higher rates, maybe a different risk profile. I'm not sure. You have access to your cash 3 times a day. So there's plenty of liquidity, no minimum balances. Just trying to understand why New York class versus maybe some of the alternatives.
My understanding, I'd be curious what the alternatives are you're referencing to.
Yep.
While there are a couple of other local government investment pools like New York Class is the oldest and largest program in the state. To my knowledge, outside of, deposits with a local bank or, purchasing your own, CDs or treasuries, there's only a couple other programs out there except for New York Class that are available for districts and municipalities. So I'm thinking there could be a limitation on some of those other closed-ended funds you may be mentioning, but I can't say for sure.
In other words, they may not take money from municipalities.
Correct, or perhaps it's not within the investment, regulations that the municipality needs to abide by in terms of collateralization and et cetera. Because New York Class is all set up to be invested in accordance with New York State General Municipal Law, Articles 5G and 3A.
And so I couldn't invest my own personal money in New York Class either.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, our 1,100 plus participants are all strictly municipalities or districts.
Mm-hmm.
And then counties have the ability to invest in another fund we have called New York Class Prime. It's only available to counties in New York State, though, because New York State law was changed, I believe, at the end of 2021 to allow counties to invest in commercial paper. But all other municipalities are not yet allowed to, at least because commercial paper is just not collateralized the same way, even though it can be quite a safe product.
Okay.
I think there are 2 issues. First, the company's got 50 billion under management at 12 basis points. That means the company's revenues are about $60 million. And that's what they get to run their business. I don't know how big the infrastructure is. It certainly has a lot of people running around. And it looks to be adequately profitable to run it. The question is, it's designed for a municipality like ourselves. And I know I have not done any diligence on whether the other available entities provide services that we require. So my sense is that we could find out what that is. But this is a very viable strategy. The only piece we don't know is what the current yield is on where we have the money invested, right? Is it invested in a yield bucket?
Our current cash flow
With at Chase.
is at Chase at a 0.01.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we just
it's-
don't have
So
it.
essentially invested in a checking account.
Right.
Yeah, and
Right, so
the only issue is the money back, so it's guaranteed? And the investments that you mentioned, are they guaranteed? Of course, we are investing municipal money.
There's no guarantees in life, but
Well, from the accountant standpoint, it has to be either FDIC insured or I guess collateralized, so we
Right.
feel sure.
right.
And the other issue is, so I'm told by Chase, if we drop our balances below $1.5 million, Chase is going to start charging us fees. I don't think those fees are going to offset anything, but we should know what the fees are up front.
So I obviously got what you'd sent around.
Mhm.
I wasn't part of the original conversations. I would love to have an opportunity to just, I mean, this sounds great. It sounds like a perfectly viable alternative. It sounds way better than what we're doing currently.
Oh, absolutely.
And a potential source of revenue that we haven't really tapped previously. I'd just like to make sure that it's the best alternative.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, I'm happy to do the work. and
Absolutely. I
put
think,
together,
yeah,
put together a
I don't
report
think
for
there's
the
a need
trustees.
to vote tonight
Okay, right.
at all. This is not something we're going to jump right into. but I did want you guys to see what was happening
Yeah,
and ask the questions that you've asked.
Conceptually,
Yeah, conceptually, I
if
support
we
it, of
have-
course.
$5 million in cash
Mhm.
at a yield of 4.8%, that'll give us $250,000 a year, roughly speaking,
Which is great. Yeah.
right? And
Which is
that's
amazing.
$250,000 better than what we
Mhm.
currently have.
Mhm.
And therefore, the two questions are, first, should we put that cash to work? And the answer, I think, is uniformly yes. And the only question is whether this is the entity that it's perfectly easy to do it
Mhm.
this way. We should just do some diligence and make a
Mhm.
decision on that
Mhm.
at the next board meeting.
Yes, and Brian, I understand that you have worked with some other municipalities that have used or are using New York class.
We work for a town that has been involved in New York class for about 3 years. And I spoke to the supervisor at the town of Monroe. He said, I could give his name if you wanted to talk to him. They've been involved for
Mhm.
about 3 years. I think they probably have, significantly more assets in the fund than the village would
Mhm.
have, but
Mhm.
they've been happy with it. I think they've discussed returns of 2 to 5% over the course of that time. Right now, closer to 5, but
Mhm.
so
Because
it's
of interest
obviously
rates.
better than the bank, as John touched on.
Right.
But I don't certainly want to speak to finances because this
Right.
board is far more qualified.
So
than I am.
I'd love an introduction.
Yeah, so Anthony Cardone is the town supervisor. I could put you in touch with him, and he said he'd be glad to talk to whoever would be
Mhm.
interested
Mhm.
in hearing about their experience.
Mhm. And so, Chris, do you want to continue with anything else? on your
Yes, I had
presentation?
just a couple things I wanted to point out based on the conversation you just had. I have up on my screen here, this is our information statement. It's stored on our website within our document center. So just newyorkclass.org/document center. But it has the detailed information about our management fee if you wanted to see it. So the management fee goes towards everything to run the program. Those items are listed out here. For example, the S&P rating is an expense in addition to the custodian bank costs. So US Bank is the custodian for New York class. It holds all of the assets and collateral on behalf of the participants. And then everything sales and marketing for the portfolio desk, technology, et cetera. So those items are listed in our information statement if you'd like to see them. And then the other thing I would share, if it would be helpful, is a copy of our monthly collateral report. Did Joel potentially go through our collateral report or give you a copy?
Great. I mean, Chris, I think, why don't I just follow up with you after this meeting?
Okay.
And,
Cover some of those
Yep.
bases.
Yep.
Works for me.
Thing, Elizabeth, Joel left us a whole packet. Maybe you can give that to Josh,
Sure.
and then we can take a look at that today.
Mhm. And Chris, are there any other municipalities in Orange County or nearby counties that you'd like us to connect with?
Certainly, we can send you a list of all the entities within Orange County.
that'd be great.
And that's certainly available, and you can feel free to reach out to those participants.
Is our county doing it?
Let's take a look. I can actually peek now.
Not yet. I don't think so.
And I know you've been talking to the town of Tuxedo as well. Is that correct?
Yes, Joel told me he has been in touch with the town as well.
And I also know that I know that Deputy Mayor Shaw introduced this to the fire department, our volunteer fire department. And one of our trustees is also on the fire department as a volunteer. So I don't know where they're along with this, but that's good.
Understood.
I reached out to the school also because the school districts are eligible as well, right?
Yes, most of the participants outside of villages, towns are school districts in the program. There's more than 300 school districts in New York class. I don't see Orange County, but I do know more than half of the counties in New York State are in the program. So if you want to see a full list of just the counties, I could share that as well.
I think we have a conclusion, which is we're gonna put that capital to work more effectively. Josh, I'm willing to help out if you want.
Yeah, great.
On deciding whether this is optimal. It's clearly the easiest. And we'll make a decision at the next trustee meeting.
We appreciate it. Thank you both. Anyone have any questions for Chris? either in the audience on Zoom or here in the meeting hall. If you're on Zoom, raise your hand. I see Michelle is on. Have you had a chance to meet with the company yet, Michelle?
Yes, we met with them at the Association of Towns annual meeting in February. And we've also spoken with Supervisor Cardone in Monroe. So we know that he's very happy with the program, and so we are pursuing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So is it okay for Josh to connect with you as well?
Certainly. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
just emailed the board Supervisor Cardone's contact information.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, well, thank you, Chris. We really appreciate you taking the time to go over this, and we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you. Please do
Thank
reach
you
out
very
with any
much.
questions, and we're happy to help you. Have a great night,
Terrific.
everyone. Take care.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Okay, so be it resolved, the Board of Trustees open the public hearing on draft local law number 1, boat and dock length, not permanent docks. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we're prepared to hear comments. Before we hear comments from the audience or from Zoom, I do have a letter from Sean Madden, which supports the law. It's not appropriate to read his out loud, but we will put it into the permanent record and it'll be available. No,
You don't have to. I mean,
no, we don't read other people's.
Yeah, the problem is you run into then having to read everybody's.
Yeah, that's been our precedent.
You can state if it's in favor. or-
I did,
Oh,
right. I
yes,
did
so
state
that's
it's in
fine.
favor, it's in support. It'll be in the permanent record, but in the past, what's happened, Elizabeth, is we might get 20 or 30 people on a debate or in a public hearing issue, and we're not going to sit and read those. But they are available.
And you can choose, so it's just. best
Right.
to-
Yeah,
So
the
that's
letter-
just-
Summarize it.
The letter is available. He basically says he's got a 20-foot boat. He's got a 10-foot dock. And he's in favor of a 20-foot dock because it's safer. He's looked at different boats before he bought that one, and there's a far greater perspective in larger docks. And the letters in the record.
Okay. So does anyone in the village hall have a comment? Mr. Hayes?
Yeah, I do. As I recall, the last BOT meeting, we discussed this in a public hearing. And the conclusion at the end of that meeting, which I think was your suggestion, no, it was Mr. Citron's suggestion, but you liked it and agreed to, the mayor liked it and agreed to write up a survey, which would be passed around to the other trustees.
Correct.
And everyone on the trustees, as I recall, agreed that that was a good idea. So the question is, why hasn't that happened?
We haven't gotten to that yet. Other issues have come up that are a higher priority.
So we're not voting tonight.
Oh, no, not at all, sir. In fact, if you look at the agenda, we have the option of discontinuing it or continue it at the next meeting. Anyone else have any comments? How about on the Zoom? Okay.
Again, I think. Didn't you want to say something? Did you have her hand up?
I didn't see it.
Chu Yin, do you have a comment?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So I resolve to close the public hearing.
Close or continue?
Continue the public hearing on draft local law number 1, boat and dock length, not permanent docks, on June 21st, 2023 at 7 p.m. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to start with the DPW report. Jeff?
Okay, most of our past month has been spent over at Wheelock Park. Removing the existing parking lot, spreading 150 yards of topsoil and seeding. Created a new roadway around the bathhouse and a handicap parking area. Continued the path that we built last month from the waterfront all the way up to the bathhouse with wood chips. We relocated a few sitting benches along that pathway. We installed the underground conduit for the Wi-Fi installation that was put in. Excavated holes for Earth Day tree plantings, cut down a few more trees out in the outer parking lot.
All with approval from the tree board.
Well, yeah, those trees were, they were completely dead.
Mhm.
Should we sign it?
And now we're working on painting, scraping and painting the grills and the picnic tables over there.
I saw the color today and approved it. It was fantastic.
So, yeah, so we continue to do a bunch of work over there. You know, and then the normal cut grass, clean drains. We had some fallen trees that we had to remove on the roadways.
Did you get the compliment for the DPW that I forwarded to you from the resident? Yeah.
And then the water and sewer, weekly meter readings, continued working on the meters for the wells and irrigation systems. Still continuing to paint fire hydrants. And then we had to locate manholes for Weston and Sampson, the village engineers, for their work on the SSES program. We had a few sewer blockages, one on Summit Road, one on East Lake Road, and one on Clubhouse Road that we had to clear. We oversaw the water line installation for the Perna house on
Mhm.
South Stable Road.
Mm-hmm.
And installed seasonal water meters.
Mm-hmm.
Been a good month.
Very busy. And again, I want to extend my thanks to you and your crew. You've been doing a terrific job. I'll also just elaborate a bit on some of the things that you mentioned that you've accomplished. We did, at the advice of the Tree Advisory Board, plant 8 new flowering trees, indigenous, if you will. And then today I went to the nursery and added 2 more to make up that part over on the, to make up the gap. And there's also some cabins and storage cabin that we ordered. It was approved by the bar last night. And so that'll be something we're going to do. And also finally, while I have the floor, there's a potential for rain on Saturday, which is the scheduled party, the annual party for the Weewa Beach Club. So I've called all the entertainers and food providers and so forth, and they're available to do it Sunday. So I will be making an announcement tonight that there might be a last minute call to move to the alternative day Sunday. Because if it's raining, it's really would just be a washout. And then finally, I believe the area of gravel that you've now planted, we're capturing 16,000 square feet of new green space.
More than that.
More than that. Do you have is it 20,000?
It's at least 20,000.
At least 20,000 square feet of new lawn, which I think is terrific. Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. Chief?
Okay, so for April, we had 202 calls for service. We issued 10 traffic tickets and 13 warnings. 1 automatic alarm for a fire. 1 medical call. We assisted the town of Tuxedo Police once. They assisted us once. And we patrolled about 2,562 miles. The daily count of vehicles, the county server was down for the license plate reader, so we don't have that count.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's not the one for the gate.
Correct.
That's the one that we've had for years.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd also like to take this time to mention that you and I have spoken as recently as today to prepare and distribute our annual rule of laws and messages to the landscapers and others, all other vendors, not to use certain fertilizers, to watch the speeding, and that we'll be strictly enforcing it, and so on. The roads are very narrow. Just today, a vendor drove by and it was on a blind corner and was in the middle of the road. So we'll be handing that out at the front gate. Normally, the majority of the landscapers and so forth have the automatic gate that they purchased, but we're going to actually put a sign up, stop them, hand them the document. Then on the south gate, we're going to put in a tray and put those documents in it. So, do you want to add anything else?
No, everything else is good.
Everything's good. Okay, thank you. John?
No new certificate of occupancy requests since the last trustee meeting regarding violations. Genesis Real Estate Partners appeared before the bar just last night. They did appear to resolve at least one of the violations that has been outstanding. There is a court matter before the judge tomorrow evening with a continuation, I think, the Friday night. Sent a letter to the owner of 91 Lookout Road. There's several large trees that have been on the ground and visible from the road for several months, if not more. Asked that the violation be resolved by June 2nd. If it's not resolved by June 2nd, I'll send them a court appearance ticket. Inspections and active projects. The Paves project is moving along. I have a meeting scheduled with them either Friday or Monday, depending upon how far along they get, regarding the basement slab prep, pool plumbing, and the pool rebar. Rifkin, the house is complete. The certificate of occupancy has been issued. There are some issues regarding the landscaping between the property owner and the neighbor. The bar is waiting for that issue to be resolved before they seek final approval of a landscaping change. Mr. Klein at 130 Continental Road, interior flooring and tile work is ongoing. I did notify them about some items that were outside the house. Those items were removed within a week of me notifying them. Mr. Ramos at 73 Clubhouse Road, interior renovations are nearing completion. New roof and windows has been installed, and they received bar approval for the siding and the entrance doors about a week ago. So they'll be installed soon. Let's see here. Elkhorn made some changes to the interior of his house. That was all inspected and approved. The Simmet House on Patterson Road, they filed for a demolition permit a long time ago, probably almost a year ago. And that work was completed about 2 weeks ago. So the house has been removed from the property. And Tuxedo Club, the changes to the driveway entrance have been completed. The driveway was tar and chipped on May 15th. The Tuxedo Club did apply for making some improvements and repairs to the boat launch wall and piers. They've decided not to pursue that work at this time. The Devereaux plunge pool and landscaping was inspected, at least in progress, on Monday. There's still a fair amount of work to do, but it's going according to plan. The Perna project on Lookout Stable Road, preparing to install the water service connection on Lookout Mountain Road. The contractor's been having discussions with Orange and Rockland Utilities regarding the electric service installation. Tigger Shaw and I had met regarding some of the investment advice that you've been discussing this evening. And there's a whole host of other projects which appear to be moving along pretty well. We still need some feedback regarding where Orange and Rockland should install those LED light fixtures. I think we had approval to install 4 of them. So I think you were going to ask for advice from the chief and the DPW superintendent. And things proceeding pretty well. We did sell 2 or 3 more items on Auctions International. 2 of those items were bid out over a year ago. The gentleman never picked them up, so I rebid them. And 2 of the items were picked up. We're just waiting for one more odd duck to get picked up and out of our hair. As we discussed, we completed the installation of the Wi-Fi at the Weewa Beach.
What is that password?
Internet.
As opposed to password.
Yes, exactly. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I've been working with
Or Weewa.
I've been working with the Climate Smart Community and Jim Hayes regarding submitting some reports and editing a few things, and things are proceeding pretty well.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate all your hard work. Okay, so do we have any questions on the minutes from April 19th or April 28th?
I don't.
I don't either. Tinka? Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public comment session, and we'll start here in the audience, and then we will go to those attending by Zoom. Do we have any questions in the audience? Okay, do we have any questions from those watching the meeting on Zoom? If so, please raise your hand. Was that Chu Yin or Michelle? Oh, Michelle, please. Michelle?
Hey, yes, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to mention, if I could, the meeting tomorrow night in
Mhm.
Town Hall. It's to have a presentation of a proposal that we've been working on with our town planner and Burgess Associates, and it's to improve the downtown Hamlet district. So
you-
it will be at Town Hall, 7:00. If people would like to come by Zoom, you can go to the website, and the Zoom link will be there on the front page of the website has the calendar. So just click on the date tomorrow, and then you'll have the Zoom link.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else in that's watching the meeting on Zoom? Okay, thank you very much. The comment period is closed. Let's move on to the consent agenda. A, add all written reports to the permanent record. B, approve minutes from April 19th and April 28th. C, approve the hiring of part-time officer Ryan Ortiz effective June 1st, 2023. Item D, accept the resignation of part-time officer Cliff Adder effective May 31st, 2023. Does any of the trustees have questions?
Nope.
Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees approve consent agenda items A through D. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, let's move to old business. And we last discussed this at the prior meeting. A presentation was made by the TAB for improvements at the racetrack. And I believe that they went before the bar. I believe that we have a representative here this evening. Would that be you, Jill?
That would be me.
Who, and you're welcome to make any comments, and we're prepared to vote. So
That'd be great. We went before the bar and we were approved 3-0, and they made a few suggestions which we think are wonderful, and we'd love your vote of approval as well.
could you just describe those changes, and are they on the drawings that are before us? Okay.
I think we-
That's really my point. Yep.
They suggested we add a little color to the cement
Mm-hmm.
concrete.
Always a good idea. I mean, if you look at the keep, if you look at the work that was done on the keep years ago, you see how it's really white where they repointed? That should have been, there should have been color added to that.
Same situation in my house.
Yeah.
So, yes, they suggested some particular plants to add for screening, like the ironweed and New York ironweed.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to make sure the cedar rail was not split rail, that it was actual rod.
Mm-hmm.
That's it off the top.
Okay, terrific.
All great suggestions, and we plan on implementing them.
Terrific. Tinka, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Paul?
I had one question.
Yeah.
You bid it out to 3 people and 2 of them elected not to bid.
Correct.
Do we have any reason why they elected not to bid, or is it just too small? Or
I think it's probably they're too busy and too small, but I'm not actually.
yeah, okay, that's fine. No, I think it's, look, I think it's fine. I was just curious that,
What is the total cost?
It was 9 and change.
It's
Nine.
here.
Okay, let me have an exact number for the resolution.
It says 9,000
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Although the math doesn't add up to that, but it's close.
Okay, can we,
It's 8,000. Yeah, it says, it's
so how
actually
about we say not to exceed
8,890.
9,000? Okay, not to exceed 9,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Although it's being privately funded, so it's not an expense we approve, right?
Well, actually,
That's from our donations.
right. So just to get an opinion from the attorney, this is the money that they've raised for the racetrack. And I know that the funds are in our account. Do we have any obligation to approve an amount or just the project itself?
Well, if the money was basically donated, it's being donated by private for this purpose,
Mhm.
then the board would accept it for that purpose.
Which we've done.
Yeah, the amount of funds and then to apply to this project. In other words, it's
Right.
limited in its
Right. So we
application.
don't need to specify the actual amount here since we've accepted the money in
We
at
just
a,
indicate that the donations that have been received and will be received for that purpose would be applied to that project.
Yeah, there's no
Thank you.
net cost to the.
Okay.
Right.
Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the TAB new construction plan for the show track, which will be paid for existing and future, what?
Sorry, racetrack.
Racetrack.
Well, it actually is the show track.
Really?
Where's Chu Yin? At the racetrack, but Chu Yin, we can talk about that. I would never want to argue with you about the history of the park, but
Show track
You can
is
do it.
fine.
we can do it over sushi. All right, plan for the racetrack. There never was a race. And the funds to pay for this project will be taken from the existing donations or future donations given to the racetrack nature preserve. May I have a second?
Mayor,
Sir.
she already had her hand raised, but the councilwoman,
Oh,
her hand raised, I'm
I
not sure if
think
that
it's
was from earlier.
Been raised.
Yeah, okay,
okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now that you're here, Joe, can you do the photography on Saturday or Sunday at the WeWa party? I did email you today.
I saw that today. I've just gotten home from a graduation.
Congratulations.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go make dinner for my newly home graduate, but let's.
Was that
discuss tomorrow.
Berkshire?
No, that was Penn.
Penn.
Oh,
Wow.
Berkshire. That was my Berkshire.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Let's chat tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay.
We will.
Cheers.
Okay,
Sunday
cheers.
would Be better, so.
Sunday would be better. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Let's move on to new business. John, would you like to present, or I don't know who has it, Elizabeth or John, has the levy for unpaid sewer and water bills? And which will be added onto the 2023 property tax bill. Has the board had a chance to review those amounts?
I sent it to the board, I believe, Tuesday
Terrific.
evening.
Okay, good. I have reviewed it. Did you all get a chance to look at it?
I did, yes.
Okay. Tinka?
Yep.
Okay, good. So we can vote. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees levy unpaid water and sewer bills onto the June 2023 property tax bill. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Any audit of claims, Elizabeth?
Yes, for the general fund, the claims were in the amount of $82,028.86. In the sewer fund, claims were in the amount of $3,136.23. And water fund claims were in the amount of $20,485.91.
Okay, thank you very much. Budget transfers?
They were posted. Do you want me to read them out loud? How did you feel about them, Tinka?
I'm good with him.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any signatures required?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. I move that the Board of Trustees leave the public meeting and enter executive session to discuss certain village employees and legal matters. May I have a second?
Second.
It is, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7:51. So if you'd like to stay, we'll be returning to the public meeting shortly. And if there's any resolutions after the executive session, they will be done in public when we return. Thank you.
Notarized or? The Chair may have.
Hold on. Are you gonna stop recording?
Brian, are you taking care of the?
I will try